Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to the spring campaign for Arkham Horror, the card game. We are all set to start the spring campaign after our game of... What did we play last week? Trying to remember what we played last week. Let me look at my channel content because that'll tell me... That should tell me for sure what we played last week. It wasn't 5 Parsecs from Home. Oh, that's right. It was Twilight 2000 as we started that campaign out. We're starting the spring campaign in Arkham Horror, the card game, this week with the first scenario, Ice and Death. One thing I'll mention going into this campaign, though, it's one of the shorter campaigns in the game, and as such, I'm probably going to have a short leash with the 2 investigators. In case you didn't watch the intro, we are taking Mark Harrigan and Minh Fan out for this one. But as I mentioned, I'm going to have a short leash with these 2. If this campaign doesn't go well in the first scenario and I end up wanting to Akachi one of the decks, then we're going to wrap the campaign early because I've got something else that I kind of want to put on the channel as a campaign at this point. For those of you who are wondering, Phoenix Knight, what in the world does it mean to Akachi one of these decks? Back during the winter campaign last year, it was the Innsmouth Conspiracy, and one of the investigators in that campaign was Akachi Onyeli. I came out of the first scenario of Innsmouth wanting to blow her deck up and start again. So that's what I mean by wanting to Akachi a deck when I come out of it. Just tapping back in here, making sure everything's all set to go. So yeah, that's the backstory on what it means when I want to Akachi a deck. So if I end up wanting to do that, then we're probably going to wrap the campaign early and go into our backup campaign. So, let's say we tab into TTS and see what we've got going on here. So I will remind everybody of the tarot reading. First, on the good side, we left the Sun 9. During each investigator's first turn, they may take 2 additional actions, which is to balance out our bad card, which is the Hanged Man 12. And unfortunately, I can't alt zoom on this, because it leaves it right side up, and I want you guys to be able to read the effect that we've got. Each investigator can't mulligan or replace weaknesses in their opening hand. We resolve their revelation abilities when the game begins. But before we get into any of that, I'm going to get this ready. We need to have the intro for the first scenario. So let me get that ready. And we will tell Phoenix Knight from the past once I find our intro here. Here we are. Phoenix Knight from the past, take it away.
Scenario 1, Ice and Death. It has been a long 8 weeks since you left Boston, and not without its toil. The Theodosia followed much the same route as its predecessors, the Arkham and the Miskatonic, first sailing southward along the east coast and through the Panama Canal, before venturing toward the Antarctic Circle. As the weather grew steadily colder, icebergs became more and more of a problem for the ship to navigate. But with the crew's expertise and the logs of the previous captains who made the same journey, you make good time. Soon enough, you spy the mist-covered peaks of Mount Erebus and Terror ahead, marking the site of Ross Island, near the ice shelf that will serve as the expedition's landing spot. As you approach the coast, Dr. Kensler and the rest of the team meet aboard the Theodosia to discuss your plans. We'll use the same breech's buoy system as before to unload supplies onto the ice shelf, she explains. Mr. Fredericks, Mr. Ellsworth, and Mr. Claypool, you'll be taking one of our smaller boats to the shelf to find us a landing zone. Miss Takata, once we have a camp up and running, those aeroplanes are your first priority. Mr. Ashavak, I expect those sledges to help move supplies from the landing to camp. As soon as we reach the ice shelf, there's going to be a lot of work to get done in a short time. I don't want you to have to wrangle 36 dogs on top of all that, so get them in order. Elia rolls his eyes and idly pets Anu, who sits diligently by his side. Yes, ma'am. Professor Dyer speaks up. I suspect the lack of ice melting and boring equipment means we aren't taking any mineral samples, he asks rhetorically. Dr. Kensler shakes her head. No need. Although if we happen to find a suitable piece, we might as well claim it. That said, our mission is solely to corroborate the findings you made with Danforth, and to bring back more evidence of these ancient species, these elder things as you dubbed them. A living specimen would be ideal, of course. Such a strange and alien beast, trapped in ice throughout the ages, it would be like discovering a live woolly mammoth, I imagine. He balks at that. A living specimen? You do know these things killed several of Lake's men, right? And how do you propose we capture one exactly? She blinks. You're the expert, William. You tell me. Dyer walks off, shaking his head and muttering angrily. I knew this was a bad idea. All right, you all have your assignments. We will reach land within the hour. Be ready, Dr. Kensler says, dismissing the meeting. Before she can go below deck, you approach and remark that you aren't sure what you should be doing just yet. Oh, there will be enough manual labor to go around, she replies with a hint of a smirk. Proceed to Ice and Death, Part 1.
Bossy, Dr. Kensler. But let's go to Intro 1.
Ice and Death, Part 1. Intro 1. After 2 weeks and many hours of hard work, the expedition is ready to make its first foray into the cold, dead continent of Antarctica. Miss Takada, along with 2 other mechanics, have fully assembled 3 aeroplanes along the flat ice shelf, a perfect place for takeoffs and landings. Your team congregates by the aeroplanes, along with several days' worth of camping equipment. The plan is to fly 2 of the planes over the vast, jagged peaks, taking aerial photographs of the stone city mentioned in Dyer's account. That is, if such a thing really exists. If we can find a safe landing zone, we will set up a temporary outpost, Dr. Kensler explains. Dyer, Danforth, Fredericks, and Claypool will stick around while the rest of us head back to base camp. We can use the sledges to ferry supplies to and from the camps. Otherwise, we'll simply scout out the area and head back to base camp. The team nods in agreement and begins boarding the planes. If Winifred Habermock is one of the investigators in the campaign, proceed to Intro 2. Otherwise, skip to Intro 3.
Winifred Habermock is not one of the investigators in this campaign, so that will bring us to Intro 3.
Intro 3. Buckle up, your pilot says. You climb into your seat and get ready for the flight. One at a time, the 2 planes take off from the ice shelf and soar into the opaque fog. The rough Antarctic winds and low visibility make for poor flying conditions, but nonetheless, you venture through the beautiful and deceptive polar mirages, over miles of icy wastes and barren snowdrifts. Dr. Kensler peers out a window as you pass a magnificent view of distant mountains like vibrant, enchanted castles floating above the clouds. They're beautiful, she remarks quietly. These are nothing, Dyer begins. Wait until you see... And then the storm hits. The winds are so sudden and fierce that they almost force you out of your seat. Both planes shunt to and fro in the horrid winds, and you hear several of the passengers shouting behind you. What in the hell? Fredericks grunts. We have to head back, Claypool shouts. These winds will force us down if we keep going. We're so close, Dr. Kensler growls bitterly. We don't have a choice, he yells back, but it's too late. The plane lurches toward the ground, and the pilot struggles in vain to regain control. All of the other passengers notice the dark shape in the sky at the same time you do. It is a massive shadow, like a curtain drawn across the mountains, or perhaps the tattered wings of an antediluvian behemoth. It scowls at you with dreadful, hollow eyes. Then it reaches out and... Proceed to Intro 4. Intro 4. As you regain consciousness, intense pain sears through your blistering skin. Through the haze, you can barely hear muffled shouting outside the burning husk of the aeroplane. Somebody grips your arm, pulls you from the wreckage, and hurls you onto the soft snow. More shouts erupt all around you. There's another. Quickly, grab my hand. You rise to your feet with a world of effort. Miraculously, you are only bruised and winded. Most of the other team members are similarly unharmed, except... Gather the 9-story assets from the expedition team and counter set. Shuffle them and choose one at random. The chosen character was killed in the plane crash. In the expedition team section of the campaign log, cross out their name. Record in the campaign log, character's name was killed in the plane crash. Find and read the passage in the next column that corresponds to the character killed in the plane crash. Then, proceed to setup.
Okay, what I did, you may have noticed it when I was going through the intro. This is the stack of the expedition team. It was previously face up. I just flipped it face down, so we're going to give that a shuffle. And then we'll draw 1. And this is the character that was killed in the plane crash. Takada Hiroko. So we'll cross her off. So I'm on the campaign log right now. I'm in the let me bring it back up top so you guys can see it probably a bit better. I'm in the expedition team section of the campaign log right now. About to finish noting that Takada Hiroko was killed in the plane crash. Okay, we'll bring it back into the game, and we'll find the section where Takada Hiroko was killed in the plane crash. Here we go.
If Takada Hiroko was killed in the plane crash, like some kind of cruel, morbid joke, Takada lies contorted and dead in a contraption of her own making. The team is silent for some time as the realization sets in. Elia looks the sky in confusion. What the hell was that thing? That shadow? It was like nothing I have ever seen. Danforth responds with a quiet mutter, only barely audible over the howling wind. The wings, the eyes in darkness. A windowless solid with 5 dimensions. He looks up when he realizes the rest of the team is staring blankly at him. We have no time to mourn, Dr. Kensler declares. It will be nightfall soon enough. Elias shakes his head in protest. Come on, Kensler. Takada is dead. Give us a half second, would you? No, she is right, Professor Dyer chimes in. If we do not want to end up like her, we have to move. If no resolution was reached...
Zip it for now. We're on the no resolution reached. Okay. So now we're all set there. Which means now we are into the ice and death proper, so each investigator can choose an available member of the expedition team who's not crossed off. So Takada Hiroko is dead. Let's see who else we might want to bring out today. Let's see. We don't have any Tekalili weaknesses. That's a specific type of weakness. That'll come in later, so we don't want Danforth yet. Elia could be useful for evading, but I think both of us have pretty good agility. Strike that. Min's got an agility of 2. Mark's got an agility of 3, so he could be a good candidate. Cookie Fredericks fights with a base combat of 5, which Mark already has. Min with a 2, that's tempting. Dr. Cena to heal 2 damage, where it's 7 for Min, 9 for Mark. He'll be welcome. Actually, we probably don't need her for this one. Professor Dyer heals 2 horror. I think he's going to go with Mark today. Because he could use because Mark's got 5 sanity, so we could definitely use that. Then rolled Ellsworth. Treachery attached. That's not a thing here, I don't think. Avery Claypool. Frost tokens will be chaotic in the bag. I'll explain what those do in the bag when they actually come into the bag. Dr. Kensler investigated with a base skill of 5. So now we're looking for somebody to go out with Min, and I think we're going to send Cookie out with Min. That's what we're going to do there. Okay. So I think we are all set there. I'll bring both of them up to the crash site, which is where we start. We start right here. Then we'll take our first look at the crash site. It was risky business sailing over the Antarctic in a single airplane without any line of bases. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. This flips over to reveal. Shroud of 2, no clues. As an action, test Lore or Agility 3 to scavenge from the wreckage. If you succeed, in the supplies recovered section of the campaign log, record spare parts. Max 1 success for campaign, shelter 0. That will come into play later. We won't talk much about that for now. I will give the Tekalili deck a quick shuffle. I'm watching my chicken timer as well because I'm doing a little bit of prep this morning. For the first scenario, we'll make Min the lead investigator, and then we'll draw 5 cards from her deck. And remember, we can't replace weaknesses here, so we can't do any kind of mulliganing. 3, 4, and 5. Okay, that's not completely terrible. Let's see, then for Mark. 1. Trying to get it past there. 2. 3. 4. And 5. Okay, that's a very expensive hand, but I'm not altogether unhappy to see what we've got in both hands. So, I think we're going to have Min start this one off. For action 1, she's going to spend a resource to play out the Forbidden Tome untranslated. The use is 5 secrets. We can exhaust it and spend a secret to draw a card. Then if we have 10 or more cards in hand, and there are no secrets on Forbidden Tome, I can discard it to record in my campaign log that I've translated the tome. Then for action 2, we're going to take the action on the location, testing lore to try to scavenge. Min's already up base 1. I'm going to commit a perception to put her up 3, which will also give her a card draw. So we'll go ahead and give the bag a good shuffle. Actually, let's go through the Act and Agenda deck so we know what we're trying to do. Cold Welcome. This isn't exactly how you imagined your first foray into the Antarctic wilds. The stinging cold and lashing frozen winds will only get worse over time. Forced. After a location is entered by an investigator for the first time, put into play each set-aside location connected to that location. Use the map in the campaign guide for reference, which I've got that off shot. Foredoomed to advance. Search for a campsite. You're going to have to find a way back to camp, and soon, or you'll have to make do camping in the wilds. Action. If each investigator is at the same location and that location has no clues on it, resign. You set up camp, each investigator resigns. Objective. Find somewhere safe to set up camp. If each undefeated investigator has resigned, advance. The higher the shelter value of the location they resigned at, the better. So in other words, the shelter value of a 0 at the crash site would be a terrible location for us to shelter at. So we definitely don't want to shelter there. Anyway, now that I remembered to go through the Act and Agenda decks, Min is looking at a 6 to a 3 on the crash site. She's up 3. And we get Tentacle Touched. Delightful. Action 3, she'll try it up 1. There's a -1, so in the campaign log, we get to record spare parts. Let's see. Memories banished. Supplies recovered. Here we go. Okay, that's it for Min. Now for Mark. His action 1. I don't know what kind of enemies we're going to have here. So I think we'll start off with action 1 for a resource. Action 2 will play the 45 Thompson out. Uses 5 ammo. Has an action, spend an ammo to fight, +2 combat, and deal +1 damage for the attack. Used by both gangsters and police officers. The fully automatic Thompson submachine gun was favored due to its accuracy and high volume of fire. Excuse me. Then for action 3, Mark is going to... do I want them to separate this early? I don't think I'm totally crazy about that idea for obvious reasons. I think he'll just take a resource, and that'll be it for his turn. That'll do it for Mark. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, no enemies in play, so now we do upkeep. I really like that it kept the button for the upkeep phase in the new update. Min's got a Glimmer of Hope. 1 cost to play, question mark on commit. A Glimmer of Hope can only be played from your discard pile. Add all copies of a Glimmer of Hope in your discard pile to your hand, including this one. And Mark will draw a Machete. 3 cost to play, combat on commit. Action to fight, getting +1 combat for the attack. If the attacked enemy is the only enemy engaged with you, this attack deals +1 damage. It cuts through vines, underbrush, and tentacles equally well. It does as we've seen in many campaigns in the past. Mythos phase, first Doom on the agenda, and then Min will draw. Apeirophobia. Revelation test will X, where X is your location's shelter value. If you fail, you must decide, choose 1. Take 1 horror for each point you failed by, place 2 of your clues on your location, or add a frost token to the chaos bag. Let's see, X is the shelter value, so Min's at a 0 right now, which means she's up 3, actually she's up 4, just don't pull the tentacle. That's a 0, so Min's all clear there. Ooh, I like that, but that gets discarded. Just testing out the ability to move cards directly to the threat area. Mark will draw Polar Vortex. Attached to your location. Forced. When you end your turn at attached location, each card you control with health, including your investigator, takes 1 direct damage. At the end of the round, discard Polar Vortex. So that gets attached to the crash site, and we want to Gitfo so we don't lose Professor Dyer. Okay. All right, and on that note, the chicken just finished up, so I'm going to go get that out of the oven real quick before we go into the next investigation phase. Just seeing to a couple of things in the kitchen, but we are good to go here. So, we definitely want to Gitfo from this Polar Vortex. The only question is, where do we want to go? I think Minh will go ahead and go first. For Action 1, she's going to move down to the Frozen Shores. They're now stretched off to the east, the low, white line of the Great Ice Barrier. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. This flips into Shroud of 2, 2 clues. There's Frozen Shores gets +2 Shroud if an encounter card is attached to it. The sun never quite sets over the horizon past the icy shoreline, painting the sky a myriad tapestry of beautiful colors, Shelter 2. Alright, so we need to get, let's see, that's circle, so we need to get triangle, heart, and square. Actually, that's already connected. Triangle, heart. Okay, looks like it's only square we need. So we need to go find square. Here we go. Uncharted locations. Here's what I'm going to do with these. I'm actually going to put these over here so I can go find the symbols I need. Okay. Alright, so there's broad snowdrifts. Put that down there, and that's the last location that connects. Okay. It's also got text on the unrevealed side. As an additional cost for you to enter this location, investigators at your location must spend 1 per investigator clues as a group. I'll go through the flavor text when we actually are able to move into that. That was Action 1 for Minh. Action 2, she is going to investigate, and she's going to commit deduction to go up 3 to try to get both clues. Skull is -X, where X is half the shelter value of your location rounded up. Shelter value right now is a 2, so the skull is a -1, which means we are able to get both clues. And then for Action 3, I think we're going to spend one of the secrets from Forbidden Tome to draw a card. And we exhaust it. And Minh will draw Guts. 2 wild, 2 head on commit, max 1 committed per skill test, and if you succeed, draw a card. That's it for Minh. For Mark, he's definitely going to want to Gitfo so we don't lose Dyer here. Do I want to have him move down to the Frozen Shores? Investigators at your location must spend as a group. Okay, so I could have Mark cash in Minh's clues for that, which I think I will have him do for Action 1. Then for Action 2, he's going to spend Minh's clues. Okay, and then he will move down to the broad snowdrift. On the lofty ice barrier in the background, myriads of grotesque penguins squawked and flapped their fins. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. Shroud of 1, 4 clues. When you successfully investigate broad snowdrifts, add 1 frost token to the chaos bag. Discover 3 additional clues at broad snowdrifts. Group limit once per game. All right, so we've got the 4 clues there. Then we need, so that's green diamond. So we need hourglass, star, and squiggly. Let's see, there's squiggly, star, and hourglass. We'll place those. Oh, wait a second. Hold on. Oh, there we go. Okay, we'll do it something like that. And there's additional costs here. As an additional cost, they have to spend 4 per investigator clues as a group to get into Remnants of Lakes Camp, which is 8. Same here at the Crystalline Cavern, and this only takes 4 clues. Okay, so that was action 2 for Mark. Action 3, he's going to investigate up 1. Elder Sign is +1 for each damage on Mark Harrigan, which right now is a +0. But we do get the clue, and then I will add a frost token to the bag once I find where the frost tokens are. We'll get all 4 clues off the location. So now let me explain what the frost tokens actually are, while I figure out where I want to set those clues down for Mark. There we go. So the frost token I just added to the bag. Let's zoom in on that for a second. The frost token is a special cast token for Edge of the Earth, where what that does is when you pull that out of the bag, the frost token is actually a -1 and pull again. But if you pull a second frost token out of the bag, you fail the test. Now the question I have about the frost tokens, and I always forget this, is when you pull them out, do they stay in the bag? Do they stay out of the bag or do they go back in? So it remains in the cast bag from scenario to scenario. Let's see. The first frost token revealed has a -1 reveal. Return all revealed frost tokens to the cast bag after the test ends. Okay. I wasn't sure about that, but... So yeah, we do need to be very careful about how many frost tokens we're adding. Right now they're relatively benign, but they could become very dangerous in a hurry. So that'll do it for Mark. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, we still have no enemies in place, so now we're doing upkeep. Fortunately, we don't have any damage on Mark, so that just does nothing right now. Very welcome there. Mythos phase, we're at our second Doom on the agenda. Minh will draw. Another Polar Vortex. Good thing she's moving this round. Actually, that reminds me. Polar Vortex here is gone. Mark will draw. Whiteout. Attached to your location. It's basically this campaign's whippoorwill. Each investigator at your location gets -1 to all skills. At the end of the round, discard Whiteout. Let's see. I'm almost wondering if we might want to go back north and continue exploring. So I think that is what we're going to do now that we're out of the Mythos phase. So back to the investigation phase. Mark is going to go first. He's going to move 1 up to the frozen shores, 2 over to the precarious ice sheet. The ice sheet was very thin, with dark ground here and there visible. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. This will flip into Shroud of 4, 2 clues. When you draw a hazard treachery while at precarious ice sheet, add 1 frost token to the cast bag, cancel that card's effects and discard it. Group limit once per round. Shelter value of 2. Let's see. We need what looks like apostrophe, which is this one. So we'll put that right there. As an additional cost for you to enter this location, investigators at your location must spend 2 clues as a group. Let's see. That's action 1. Action 2. We are going to go... Actually, that was action 2, I think. Yeah, because Mark was down here at Broad Snowdrift, so we had to go 1, 2 to get up to the precarious ice sheet. And then action 3... Mark is going to take a resource with the plan of with the plan of playing Greta on his next turn. So that'll do it for Mark. Over to Min. I think we'll have her come up and grab those 2 clues. I definitely don't want her at the frozen shores. Now that it's a Force Shroud, not that it matters there. So that was action 1 for Min. Action 2. She's going to exhaust the Forbidden Tome and spend a secret to draw a card. Unexpected Courage, which is not all that unwelcome. Action 3, she will investigate, committing Eureka to go up 1. Actually, she's going to go up 2 because I'm going to use her secret reaction, committing a card. She is an investigator at her location, so she's going to gain a question mark on Eureka. So Min is actually up 2. That's a -1, so we're all clear there, which means Min gets a clue, and she gets to look at the top 3 for a card. Let's see what cards she's got to choose from. Let's see, Eureka, Higher Ed, and Lab Assistant. I think we're going to take the Lab Assistant. Lab Assistant is maximum hand size increased by 2. After it enters play, draw 2 cards. Okay, that was all 3 of Min's actions because we had to go 1. Actually, it was 1 to move up. Yeah, 2 to exhaust the Forbidden Tome, 3 to investigate. Okay, so Min is done. That's it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, nothing happens there because we still have no enemies out, and we'll do upkeep. So Mark went first, which means he will do his upkeep. He will draw Alice Luxley, +1 lore. After you discover a clue, exhaust Alice to do a damage to an enemy at your location. And then Min will draw an Occult Lexicon, 2 cost to play, lore on commit. After it enters play, search your bonded cards for 3 copies of Bloodright, add 1 to your hand and shuffle the other 2 into your deck. When it leaves play, find each of those copies of Bloodright and remove them from the game. Mythos phase brings us up to the third doom on the agenda. Min will draw Dark Aurora. Test Will 3. For each Frost token revealed during this test, take 1 horror. If you fail, take 2. The phosphorescent organism supplied light with vast effectiveness and doubtless atoned for the loss of the familiar polar auroras of the outer world night. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. Min is going to commit... I didn't take the Eureka because I didn't think I would need it. She's going to commit Guts, though, which, if this test passes, that's a once for each investigator per round. Okay, so Min is going up 3 with Guts, and she'll replace Guts if the test succeeds. Which a 0 says it does. So Min will draw a card. She'll find another Feed the Mind. 3 secrets. We can exhaust it as an action and spend a secret to test lore 1. For each point you succeed by, to a max of 3, draw 1 card. And then Mark will draw Ice Shaft. Test agility. It's basically the same thing as we just had, but for agility. For each Frost token revealed during the test, take a damage. If you fail, take 2. Let's see. Can Min give him any kind of help with that? She can. She will commit Unexpected Courage to the test. That puts Mark up 2, actually. And that's where he'll test. That's a -2. Good thing we committed that. So Mark's all clear there. Okay. Then for Min, actually for both of we're back to the investigation phase now. Min is going to, let's see, she's going to investigate for action 1. She's at even. And does Mark have any lore he wants to commit? He does not. Actually, you know what? Better idea. I'm going to have Mark go first, actually. Actually, no. We'll stick with Min going first. This is fine. She's going to investigate at even. 0 gets her the clue, so very nicely done there, Min. Action 2, she's going to spend her 2 clues to move over to the Icy Wastes. As an additional cost for you to enter, investigators at your location must spend 1 per investigator clues as a group, which we just did. In 10 more miles, we came to an unbroken waste virtually without signs of sentient artifice. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. And here we find Shroud of 2, 4 clues. Treat the modifier of the first frost token you revealed during each skill test at Icy Wastes as a -3 instead of -1, but it's got a shelter 4. Okay, we need Heart, Star, Moon, and Clover. So we've got Star, Heart, which means we need Moon and Clover. So Moon and Clover. Clover takes 4 clues. Barrier Camp takes 8. Then action 3, Min will exhaust the Forbidden Tome to draw a card. And she'll get Celiano Fragments. While you have 5 or more cards in hand, +1 lore. 10 or more cards in hand, +1 will. 15 or more cards in hand, another +1 lore. That's it for Min. Over to Mark. His action 1 is going to be to move over to the Icy Wastes as well. Action 2, are we going to stick with a plan to play out Greta? We haven't seen any enemies yet, so I'm going to sit tight on playing out Greta. Instead, I'm going to play out a Safeguard. 2 cost to play, well on commit. Reaction, after another investigator moves from your location to a connecting, exhaust Safeguard, move to that location. Keep an eye out for any trouble, she told me. I rolled my eyes. There was always trouble. And then for action 3, Mark is going to investigate at even. Skull is -X, where X is half the shelter value, which is a -2. And I've been using Sophie, where I can get +2 skill value for the test. I gotta pay attention to that. It's my first time ever playing Mark in the card game. That'll do it for Mark. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, still no enemies in play, so we do upkeep. Min starts off with a higher education, which unfortunately, oh no, we're good. We don't have to discard yet. Mark will draw. 1-2 punch. 2 cost to play, combat on commit. Fight, getting +1 combat for the attack. If you succeed, you may fight that enemy again. +2 damage and deal +1 damage for that attack. Mythos phase, we are advancing the agenda. Under the ice. Hold on. Come see this, one of the other team members shouts as you trudge ahead through the snow. You turn back and examine what they have found. A second set of tracks in the snow, but smaller, misshapen. Almost impossibly so. What in the hell could have made these tracks, one of your party asks. You stand dumbfounded. Very little wildlife exists out here in the frozen wastes, and these tracks match nothing you've ever seen before, nothing you can even imagine. You don't have to question what could make such tracks for long. A shape emerges from the erupting snow, twisted and deformed, like a splotch of ink spilled upon the canvas of reality. It makes a strange, almost familiar cry that is eaten by the howling wind. Lee! Lee! Then, with terrifying speed, it rushes toward you. Spawn a set-aside, skittering nonsense at the lead investigator's location. Shuffle the remainder of the set-aside skittering nonsense enemies and the set-aside creatures in the ice encounter set into the encounter deck. So we'll grab creatures in the ice, along with a skittering nonsense. That'll spawn at the lead investigator's location. There's no directions, so I'll spawn that and engage with Mark. Let's take a quick look at skittering nonsense. 2/4, monster Eidolon, Hunter. Forced. When you defeat skittering nonsense, shuffle the top card of the Tekalili deck into your deck without looking at it. If you can't, skittering nonsense attacks you. And at the end of the round, these two should have gone away. The rest of those go back into the encounter deck, along with the creatures in the ice encounter set. So now we've got enemies. But our new agenda, into the white. Something dwells beneath the ice. Something you've never seen or heard of before. Not even in William Dyer's horrifying report. Something unreal. The same force we had before. So now Minh will draw for an encounter. She will draw Through the Ice. Attached to the nearest location without a copy of Through the Ice attached. As an additional cost for you to enter or leave attached location, except by a scenario card effect, test Agility 2. If you fail, cancel the effects of the move, take 1 and 1, and discard Through the Ice. Well, that's problematic. And then Mark will draw Manifestation of Madness. Hunter. Forced. When it attacks you, shuffle the top 2 cards of the Tekalili deck into your deck without looking at them. For each card you can't shuffle, Manifestation of Madness deals +1 damage and +1 horror for this attack. Well then. Nope, not discarded. That needs to go to my threat area. So Mark ended up making all of the friends. Which means Minh is going to go first. So she's going to spend 2 resources to play out her Occult Lexicon, which means we'll get a copy of Bloodright into her hand, 1 into the deck. Or 1 into the hand, 2 into the deck. We'll take a look at Bloodright as well. Bonded to Occult Lexicon. Draw 2 cards, discard up to 2 cards from your hand. For each card you discard this way, you may either gain a resource or spend a resource to deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. Which we'll go ahead and do that for action 2. So she's going to draw 2 cards. Alright, then it's discard up to 2 cards. We're going to discard Feed the Mind and Glimmer of Hope. Then we'll spend 2 resources to kill the Skittering Nonsense with no problem. And then Minh will shuffle the top card of the Tekalili deck into her deck. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to do it a little bit different. So normally when you're playing in paper, you're able to carry the decks over from campaign to from scenario to scenario. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to note how many Tekalili cards are in each investigator's deck, since I'm going to be probably doing this campaign on TTS, and then I'm going to shuffle them all in. Tekalili count. And I'll just shuffle in random Tekalili cards instead of looking at what they actually are. So Minh has 1. Mark right now is none. So let me make sure. Well, yeah, I shuffled 1 in. So the Skittering Nonsense has been defeated. And then Min's going to exhaust the Forbidden Tome. Next turn, she should be able to translate it. Then she'll draw a card. The Raven Quill. And the asset we named with that... oh crud! I don't think I ever printed out the customizable sheet for that. Well, since I decided to be a derp about that, I'm going to go ahead and you get onto the other monitor. I'm yelling at Explorer, not anything you guys are doing. So I'm going to go get the, let's see, eDrive backup. I'm trying to remember where I had it saved. Probably Documents, Card Game Files. I know I pulled the customizable cards. At least I could have sworn I did. Upgrades printer friendly. That's probably what I want here. This sure looks like it. I need to find the Raven Quill. Let me zoom in on. Let me see if I can get to a view where it's just 1 page per. Let's see, single page view. So if I go to, let me zoom this in. Actually, maybe that'll make it a little easier. So it looks like if I go page 16, that should get me a copy. Oh, actually, I need I need the hunter's armor too. So I'm going to make a note here. Normally I'm a lot more prepared than this. Oh, perfect. So 1 and 16. Okay. So while those two are printing, Minh will take her third action, which will be to investigate up 2. Which is a 0, so Minh will get a clue. And there's my printer going, so bear with me on that. Mark has got to deal with this manifestation of madness. He's going to start off with action 1, spending, not the whole Thompson, a bullet from the Thompson. He's going to attack the manifestation of madness. He's also going to put a damage on Sophie to get +2 skill value. So that gives him a 5, 7, 9. To 3, he's up 6. Rune is -3. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of your deck. Draw each weakness discarded by this effect. Okay, so Mark is all clear there. He does 2 damage to the manifestation of madness. There we go. And now I've got my upgrades printed out. And the tome we're going to discover, the tome we're going to name is, we're going to name the Occult Lexicon. Okay, action 2. Mark's going to run back the attack without putting damage on Sophie this time. So he is at a 5, 7 to 3. He's up 4. Which that's a 0, so the manifestation of madness is defeated. So that's defeated. And then for action 3, do I want to have him work on a clue? That's agility 2 to try to leave, and we need 8 clues. We need 8 clues to get down to remnants of Lake's camp, which we only have 5 right now. So I think Mark's going to investigate. He's at even, unless Minh wants to commit something to him, which is tempting because she'll be discarding at the end of the turn if she doesn't. You know what? As long as nothing goes sideways here, I think this will be fine. Because I'm going to be able to, I should be able to translate the Forbidden Tome on Minh's next turn. So I'm going to commit a Lab Assistant and use Minh's ability. Let's do this. I'm going to copy that Seeker Reaction token and put it on Mark. That way I can mark if I've used Minh's ability for him, since it's a limit once per investigator. I'm going to use it here to put Mark up 2. +1 gets him a clue anyway. So that worked out. All right, that was Mark's third action. That'll do it for Mark. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, we took care of both of our enemies between us, so that'll bring us into the upkeep phase. Minh will draw another copy of Bloodright, which will be very good for dealing with any enemies that might come out. Minh does not have to discard yet since she's at 8 cards. Mark will draw. Clean them out. 0 cost to play, will, combat, and commit. Fight. When this action begins, gain 2 resources. Mythos phase, we're up to our first doom on the agenda. Minh will draw another Dark Aurora. Test will 3. For each point you fail by, or for each frost token revealed during this test, take 1 horror. If you fail, take 2 horror. She is up 1. She's not going to commit. That's a 0, so she's all clear. Mark, Antarctic Wind. Attach to the nearest location without a copy of Antarctic Wind attached. Investigators at attached location can't play cards or draw cards from their deck. Forced at the end of the round, discard Antarctic Wind. What I heard was Gitfo from this location, so we can flip, so Minh can flip her, so Minh can get her Forbidden Tome translated. The question is, where do I want to go for that? We don't have the clues to go to remnants of Lake's camp yet. I think Mark is going to go first. That way, when he bops this test, most likely, he can actually take the damage from it. So for action 1, he's going to try to leave the icy waste. He's got a test on through the ice for an agility 2. He is up 1 right now. Excuse me. But there's nothing he can commit. How about Minh? I definitely don't want to commit the Grizzly Totem. Min's going to need, I think Min's going to need her Unexpected Courage for her agility test because she's only even. So Mark is actually going to take a damage on Sophie to get +2 skill value. He's at a 5 to 2. He's up 3. Actually, no, I think I want him to fail this if possible. So up 3. Cultist is -2. If you fail, shuffle the top card of the Tekalili deck into your deck without looking at it, which we can do. So now Mark has a Tekalili card. So he will shuffle that in since he does fail. It also means he takes 1 and 1 and then discards through the ice. He's going to take that himself, and we discard through the ice. Action 2, he's going to move back to the precarious ice sheet. And action 3, that needs 4 clues. Action 3, he'll move down to the frozen shores. Yep. And that'll do it for Mark. Over to Minh. Action 1, she's going to move to the precarious ice sheet. Action 2, she's going to play out her lab assistant for 2 resources. Hand size increased by 2. After lab assistant enters play, draw 2 cards. 1 health, 2 sanity on soak. So 1 is a Eureka. 2 is Preposterous Sketches, which we can only play if there's a clue on her location. Draw 3 cards. Fortunately, though, we still have an action left, which Minh can exhaust the Forbidden Tome to spend her last secret to draw a card. Then, if she has 10 or more cards in hand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and there are no secrets on Forbidden Tome, we can discard it to record in my campaign log that we've translated the tome. I'll make a note of that in the campaign log. And we'll discard the Forbidden Tome, so we're done with that. Very nicely done, Minh. We are all set there. So that was action 1 to get out, 2 to play the lab assistant, and 3 to flip to translate the tome. Okay, so we are all good there. That's it for Minh. That's it for the upkeep phase, for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, still no enemies in play, so now we do upkeep. Minh will draw another manual dexterity. She's got to discard a card, though. She will bin that higher education as a free skill dump for us. She's going to discard a manual dexterity. And then Mark will draw. He has his other 2 actions flipped over. Mark will draw if it bleeds. 1 cost to play, will, combat on commit. Fast, play after you defeat a monster enemy. Each investigator at your location heals horror equal to that enemy's horror value. Okay, that's very welcome there. Mythos phase, we don't have anything at end of round, do we? Oh, yep, Antarctic Wind gets discarded. Mythos phase, we're at our 2nd Doom on the agenda. Minh will draw another Antarctic Wind. Fortunately, we're not prevented from leaving here. Mark will draw good old Ancient Evils. Revelation, place 1 Doom on the current agenda. This effect can cause the current agenda to advance. Dark forces stir against you. If you don't act quickly, a sinister plot will be fulfilled. So we'll put a Doom up on the agenda. And that's got 1 more agenda left on it. Okay, so for action 1, I think we're going to probably have to check out the snow graves over here. Mark's got 5 clues right now. Minh's got 1. So I think Minh will go first. Will she go first? No. Mark's going to go first. Action 1. He's actually, hold on. We can maybe save ourselves an action here. Move to that location. Yeah, let's have Minh go first. Action 1, she's going to move down to the frozen shores. Action 2, she's going to move down to the broad snowdrifts, and Mark's going to exhaust Safeguard to move with her. Then action 3, we're going to spend Mark's 4 clues to move Minh into the snow graves. It surely looked like madness to find 6 imperfect monstrosities carefully buried upright in 9-foot snow graves under 5-pointed mounds. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. And this flips into Shroud of 3, 4 clues. After you discover the last clue from snow graves, shuffle the top 3 cards of the Tekalili deck into your deck without looking at them. In the supplies recovered section of the campaign log, record green soapstone. Group limit once per campaign. That's it for Minh. We still have 2 clues, so we're actually just short of what we would need. We could go back up to the treacherous path for those. I think I'll leave Minh down here to work on these clues. Mark is going to move 1 up to the frozen shores, 2 to the treacherous path. In order to recover the Archaean slate vein in which he had found the odd markings, he would have to make a long sledge trip from these foothills to the steep slopes of the gigantic mountains themselves. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. This will flip into Shroud of 2, 2 clues. Forced, after you reveal 1 or more frost tokens during a skill test at Treacherous Path, take 1 damage or horror for each frost token revealed. Shelter 1. Let's see, we need Circle, which is out. Diamond, which is there. Heart, which is over here. And double and a rotated equal sign, which is right here, the Rocky Crags. Needs 2 clues to enter that. Then for action 3, Mark is going to investigate at even. Does he have any lore whatsoever he can commit? Actually, I think a better idea than investigating. He'll have an easier time. Actually, no, I think now that we're starting to get enemies, now we will play Greta Wagner out. Ugh, the Mob Enforcer. Minh got into debt for this to prepare for this expedition. Prey Bearer only. Hunter, spend 4 resources, parlay, to discard Mob Enforcer. You knew you shouldn't have borrowed money from the O'Banion gang. It seems like they're always looking to collect at the worst times. No kidding. And then Mark will draw Hunter's Armor. 4 cost to play. It's a customizable card. And we just printed out the upgrades for that. Mythos phase brings us to our 4th Doom in play. Minh will draw Skittering Nonsense. Oh, delightful. Hunter. Forced. When you defeat Skittering Nonsense, shuffle the top card of the Tekalili deck into your deck without looking at it. If you can't, we saw this earlier. And Minh has got... Actually, she can deal with 1 of these. Well, I'll have to think what I want to do with that. Mark will draw Ice Shaft. Test Agility 3. We saw this earlier. He's going to put a damage on Sophie to get +2 skill value, so he's up 2. -1 means he's all clear. Okay, so Minh, what is she going to do here? Well, we're actually into the investigation phase. That was not that catastrophic of a mythos phase in the grand scheme of things. Let's see, that's got a shelter 5 on it. Do I want Mark to be able to investigate? Let's see, that is heal 2 horror. Okay. Mark would be even investigating, but we might as well. So action 1, Mark is going to investigate at even, which a +1 gets him a clue, so nicely done there, Mark. Action 2, he'll run it back because why not? Actually, action 2, Yeah, we'll run it back. Cultist is -2 to give him another card from the Tekalili deck. Oop. Trying to shuffle, not flip. And action 3, Mark is going to start making his way. Let's see, he's got 2, Min's got 1. We actually need that clue if I'm thinking I want to get in here. So I think action 3, he's going to investigate one last time, put another damage on Sophie, and that flips when Mark has 5. Oh, that's okay, that's actually a damage on Mark. So he should be at 4 damage right now, not on Sophie. Okay, so Mark is now up 2 now, trying to investigate. That's a -1, which gets him the last clue. So now we need to get him on a horse and get him down to help Min out. Although Min is going to be pretty set on her turn. She's going to play out for action 1. She's going to play out Bloodright. So she's drawing 2 cards, which is Analytical Mind and Guts. She'll discard up to 2 cards, which she'll bin a Manual Dexterity and Guts? Yes, Guts. She'll spend 2 resources to defeat the Skittering Nonsense, which will shuffle the top card of the Tekalili deck into her deck without looking at it. So that'll give her another card from this deck, which will bring Min up to 2. Wait a second. Oh, we discarded the Forbidden Tome. Never mind. I was panicking for a second, like, wait a second. Then Min's going to initiate a Take a Resources action, but that's going to trigger an attack of opportunity from the Mob Enforcer, so she'll take a damage from that, but she'll get her resource. Then she's going to spend the 4 resources, tell the Mob Enforcer to get lost. Okay, that will do it for Min. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, no enemies in play. Min managed to deal with both of hers, so now we do Upkeep. Upkeep is another Grizzly Totem, and because Min's got the Lab Assistant in play, her maximum hand size is 10, so she doesn't have to discard. Mark will draw a Bandolier, an additional hand slot which can only be used for a weapon. Mark does have to discard, though. He will discard... he's going to discard his other copy of Safeguard. Right. End of round. Antarctic Wind goes away. Mythos phase. Oop. Nope, we should be at 5 doom on the agenda. Min will draw Whiteout, -1 to everything. At the end of the round, discarded. Mark will draw Kindred Mist, attached to the nearest location without a copy of Kindred Mist attached. Forced. When one or more cards from the Tekalili deck would be shuffled into your deck while you're at attached location, draw them instead, placing them on the bottom of your deck instead of the bottom of the Tekalili deck. Discard Kindred Mist at the end of the round. Well, good thing Mark's leaving here. So, the question is, what is he doing, though? Action 1. Actually, he's probably just moving. He's got 3 clues to Min's 1. We need all 4 clues from here. So action 1, he's going to move down to the frozen shores. Action 2 to the broad snowdrifts. And then action 3, he's going to take a resource so he can play out... Actually... Yeah, he's going to take a resource so he can play out both the Bandolier and the Machete next turn. That'll do it for Mark. Min is going to investigate for action 1 with a Eureka. That'll get her back up to 4. Actually, we'll use her ability on that to bring that up to a 5, so Min's up 2. Which is 0 gets her a clue. And then we get to look at the top 3 because of Eureka. Glimmer of Hope, another Forbidden Tome, and the King in Yellow. Well, we definitely don't want the King in Yellow, that's for sure. And I don't think we need another Forbidden Tome, so we'll just take a Glimmer of Hope. Action 2, we'll run that back, committing a Glimmer of Hope, bringing her back up to up 1. Which is 0 gets her another clue, so nicely done there, Min. And action 3, we will run that back again. We'll commit Unexpected Courage to get up 2. And a -2 gets her another clue. So very nicely done, Min. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, we've done a pretty good job keeping the enemies in check this scenario. So now we'll do upkeep. And Min finds a Tekalili deck. Revelation, place one of your clues on the location. Place Tekalili on the bottom of the Tekalili deck. Still came that eldritch mocking cry. Tekalili, Tekalili. H.P. Lovecraft at the Mountains of Madness. So of course we have to get one of those clues back. But on the bright side, whiteout will be gone at the end of the round. So that goes to the bottom of the Tekalili deck. Which means we can mark off one Tekalili card for Min. Mark will draw an Enchanted Mirror. Ooh. 2 cost to play, limit 1 per deck. After it enters play, it's basically the same thing for Bloodright, but it gives us Soothing Melody instead. Unfortunately, Mark does have to discard. He's going to discard Hunter's Armor. Actually, that playing the Hallowed Mirror now might be very tempting, so I can clear some of this damage and have room to play with using Sophie again. Mythos phase, 6th Doom on the agenda. Min will draw Glacial Phantasm. Uh-oh. Forced at the end of the enemy phase, if Glacial Phantasm is ready, also whiteout should be gone. So after it enters play, so at the end of the enemy phase, if it's ready, move it once toward the location with the most investigators. In player order, each investigator at Glacial Phantasm's location or a connecting location shuffles the top card of the Tekalili deck into their deck without looking at it. Each investigator who can't takes 1 horror. Mark will draw Polar Mirage, attached to the nearest location without 1 clue, with at least 1 clue and without a copy of Polar Mirage attached. After you discover or take control of 1 or more clues at attached location, discard each non-weakness card in your hand. Discard Polar Mirage. If Min gets that clue, that is going to rip her hand apart. Actually, it's going to rip his hand apart as well. Yikes. Let's see. That's a fight of 4. Jeez, that's going to rip either one of their hands apart right now. Yowza. I think what we're going to do here... I got to think about this, because unfortunately, Min's got the high enough shroud, or the high enough investigation, to be able to get that clue, but it's going to rip her hand completely to pieces. And I know somewhere, I just saw the king in yellow, and I'm definitely drawing that back out. I'm going to be drawing that at some point, and I need icons to be able to deal with it. So I think the play here is Mark to go... Yeah, Mark's got to go first. 2 resources to play out the Hallowed Mirror, which will give him a Soothing Melody. We'll take a look at Soothing Melody in a second. Bonded to Hallowed Mirror, Will, Lore, Agility on Commit. Heal 2 damage or 2 horror, or any combination thereof, from among investigators and or ally assets at your location. Draw 1 card. We'll be playing that immediately, so I'm going to take my horrible shot at the French. Edler chanson sommeille au clair de lune, au calme clair de lune triste et beau. Paul Verlaine, clair de lune. Which will let him heal 2 damage, so I've got room to play with on Sophie, and then draw a card. Which is a Wolf Mask. So 1 cost to play, combat, agility on commit, Limit 1 mask per investigator. Uses 2 offerings. Replenish 1 of these after you engage an enemy. Spend an offering as a free action to get +2 combat or +2 agility for this test. Limit once per test. Yikes. Let's see, we've got 6 clues. We need the last 2 off of there to get in here. This is bad. And I think he's going to move in here and plan on helping Minh with his Glacial Phantasm next turn. Actually, he might be able to just engage it off of her next turn. So Minh is going to try to evade the Glacial Phantasm for action 1. That's right. Actually, I wonder if we take an attack of opportunity here. Nope, higher education would give her wouldn't give her agility, so never mind that plan. We can actually commit a Grizzly Totem to put Minh up 1, and I'll use her in reaction on her. Come on, flip the token, not the card, to go up 2. +1 worked nicely, so that's evaded. That'll make friends with Mark on the next upkeep phase. Action 2. Let's take a resource, and 3 will play out Minh's Analytical Mind. You may commit 1 card to each skill test performed by an investigator at another location. After you commit exactly 1 card to a skill test, exhaust Analytical Mind to draw 1 card. Alright, so that was evade. We had the resources to do that. And then action 3, Minh's going to take a resource. That'll do it for Minh. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, Minh exhausted the Glacial Phantasm, so now we'll do upkeep. Minh will find a copy of Bloodright. Okay, that's very welcome. And then Mark will find another 45 Thompson, which is probably... yeah, that's going to be discard fodder. And then Mark will make friends with the Phantasm. Alright, Mythos phase. We are advancing the agenda. Alright, it dwells inside. These things, these manifestations, they're not beasts or even alien creatures like those Dyer and Danforth encountered in their last expedition. You're not even sure they are entities at all. They have no shape, consisting of an almost protoplasmic substance that seeps back into the ice when harmed or whenever you escape their clutches. Given the persistence of these entities and the inclement, deadly conditions of Antarctica, you know you won't survive the night without finding shelter. Just as you are pondering what your next move should be, the ice beneath you rumbles with tremendous force, letting out a terrifying groan. An earthquake, one of your party asks over that raucous noise. No, that's impossible, another replies. You share a dreadful glance. Could it be one of those things? Spawn the set-aside Terror of the Stars enemy at the revealed location with the highest shelter value. Alright, so here's the Terror of the Stars. Bringer of Ice and Death. Hunter, massive. 4/3/5, but it actually gets +3 per investigator health, so it's got 9 health. When Terror of the Stars is ready, investigators cannot resign at its location or discover clues at its location. Victory 1, 2, and 2. Yikes. So let's see where we've got the highest revealed shelter value. 4, 2, 1, 0, 2, 4. And of course, we're at a 5, so it spawns right on top of us. Wonderful. Oh joy. Just what I wanted to see here. Let's see, that's it there. And then running out of time. The sun hangs low in the sky, but never sets. Your party is exhausted from the long, arduous day. Though the sky is never plunged into the dark of night, you know it's only a matter of time before you are forced to make camp. Yada yada yada. Same forced clause we had before, and that was 7 doom to advance. Alright, Minh will draw Ice Shaft, testing agility 3. Unfortunately, Minh is down 1, and I think that is where... Does she have any agility that can help with this? Grizzly Totem. Mark is also minus... Actually, Mark's got the Wolf Mask. Down 1, I think, is where Min's going to test. 0 means she takes 2 damage. And then Mark will draw Kindred Mist. Oh, fantastic. We saw this earlier. Let's see. I definitely do not want to play Preposterous Sketches with Min, because that's almost guaranteeing to bring out the king in yellow. I'm almost hesitant to play Bloodright as well, because that's going to probably have the same result here. What do I want to do here? I think our first order of business probably should be to evade the Terror of the Stars. So she will do that, down 1, and I think I will bite the bullet, commit Grisly Totem using her Seeker reaction on her to go up 1 after I commit exactly 1 card to a skill test, exhaust Analytical Mind to draw a card. And it's a Glimmer of Hope. Alright, so Min is up 1 trying to evade. That's the Elder Sign. +1. You may choose a skill card committed to this skill test to return to its owner's hand after the test ends. Well, that evades the Terror of the Stars and brings Grisly Totem back to Min's hand. Okay. Action 2. Min is going to play. What is Min going to do here? Is she going to have to bite the bullet and just have her hand ripped apart? I'm thinking so at this point. She's going to play Bloodright for now. We'll try to put some damage on this Phantasm to give Mark a little insurance with that in case this doesn't work. Okay, so we've got a... Oh, fantastic. 2 weaknesses, so we have to deal with those first. 2 cards. We'll discard a Glimmer of Hope, and the Raven Quill will do 2 damage to the Glacial Phantasm. Whoop. There we go. Come on. There we go. That'll discard that. Okay, so we've got big problems on our hands. So first, the Tekalili weakness, which discard an asset you control, place Tekalili on the bottom of the Tekalili deck. Still came that Eldritch Mocking Cry. I think that's the same flavor text for all of them. We will discard the Lab Assistant. So that'll go to the bottom of the Tekalili deck. And then we have the King in Yellow, which fortunately doesn't get rid of the Occult Lexicon due to slot pressure. Alright, Forced. A Revelation. Put the King in Yellow into play in your threat area. It can't leave play except through the fast action ability below. You can't commit one or two skill cards to a skill test. Reaction: after a skill test is successful in which Min committed at least 6 matching icons for that test, discard the King in Yellow. Let's see. 1, 2. Okay, so Min has... So that was 1 action. So 1 to evade the Terror of the Stars, 2 to Bloodright the Glacial Phantasm, and 3, she doesn't have the resources to play Preposterous Sketches. She will take a resource. I don't want her hand to get ripped apart just yet. Then for Mark, he's going to spend action 1 to take a shot with the Thompson at the Phantasm, and he's going to take a direct damage from Sophie to do that. So he is to get +2. So that's a 5, 7, 9 from Sophie to 4, Mark's up 5. That's a -1, so that will defeat the Phantasm. Right, so that defeats that. Okay, so that's just actually at the end of the enemy phase. So hold on a second. I wonder if I should have had an extra card in the Tekalili deck. Oh, if it's ready. I think it... No, it wasn't. It wasn't ready because Min was able to evade it. So never mind. All right, so that's dead. Then Mark. I'd much rather have Mark's hand get ripped apart right now than Min's. So I am going to exhaust Greta Wagner and deal with damage to her. to pull a clue off the location. Again, that is going to rip Mark's hand apart, including Homefront, which I really wanted to keep. But I would much rather it's Mark's hand getting ripped apart than Min's. So we do have to move everything. So we have to rip apart his entire hand and discard Polar Mirage. Let's see. I'm going to leave that clue. I'm going to see if I can leave that clue on the location. Which means I think we just start chipping away at the Terror of the Stars? Let's see. That was action 1. Action 2, Mark's going to draw 2 cards to pull his hand back together. Actually, strike that. He's going to play a Soothing Melody to heal himself for another 2 damage. That way I can take more with Sophie. And then draw a card. Vicious Blow. Okay, that's very helpful. That should help us deal with the Terror of the Stars a lot more easily. That'll do it for Mark. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase, we exhausted the Terror of the Stars. So, we will do Upkeep next. Deduction. Let's see. Right now we have 1, 2, 3... 4 matching icons. Hopefully Preposterous Sketches will give us more icons to work with. And then Mark will draw. Clean them out. Okay? And then that's ready. Massive. Mythos phase. First Doom on the agenda. Min will draw. Skittering Nonsense. Fantastic. Mark will draw. Another Ancient Evils. Also fantastic. Another Doom on the agenda. Ugh. Gross. Let's see. Does Cookie want to... yeah. I think we're going to have Min attack. So Min's going to use Cookie to attack the Skittering Nonsense. With a base skill of 5, Min is up 3. Cultist is a -2, so we don't fail that. We do 1 damage. Action 2, we'll run the attack back with Cookie. Once again, up 3. -1 means it's dead, but Min will end up with another Tekalili card. That was action 2. Then action 3, we are going to play out Preposterous Sketches, which actually has a much more inappropriate name in my group, but I won't share that here. Draw 3 cards. I'm hoping to get more lore icons so Min can try to deal with the King in Yellow next turn. 1. Oop, actually, hold on a second. I forgot that we've got the Terror of the Stars there, and he's massive. So it would help if I pay attention to that. Let's go ahead and try to evade that. Min, unfortunately, is down 1 unless I want to commit the Grizzly Totem, which actually isn't going to help me with the Investigate. I'm going to plan to use a lore test to get rid of that anyway, so... yeah, let's use that, and we'll exhaust Min's Seeker ability. Min's special ability to gain a question mark, so Min is up 1 trying to evade. So -1 means we do evade. That'll do it for Min. Mark, we need to go to work on this thing, like now. So I think we'll start off for action 1. We'll start off with a Clean Them Out. When this action begins, gain 2 resources. Time to tighten some screws. So he'll gain 2 resources. He'll be up... we'll have him test just a basic up 1. The 0 means we do a damage. Then for action 2, we're going to use the Thompson to go up 3, trying to do 2 damage. Skull is -X. X is half the shelter value. Of course it's rounded up, so a -3 fails. And then action 3 is going to be taking another direct damage and using the last bullet on the Thompson So we're at a, actually, 5-7 to 4. Oh, no, actually, hold on. 5-7. Mark was up 3. That skull was a -3, so actually that did do 2 damage. Let's see, the 45 Thompson. Mark is up. So we took a damage for Sophie. 7-9 to 4. Mark is up 5, trying to do another 2 damage. Which a -2 does another 2 damage. Okay. So that'll do it for Mark. That'll do it for the investigation phase. Enemy phase. The Terror of the Stars is readied. Kindred Mist should have gone away a while ago. And then we will do upkeep phase. That's an if it's when it's ready. Okay. So Min will do upkeep. Another Preposterous Sketches will hopefully get me more stuff to work with. And then Mark will draw another Vicious Blow. Okay, I don't completely hate that. I just mostly hate that. Mythos phase, third Doom on the agenda. Min will draw a Manifestation of Madness. Fantastic. Mark will draw another one. Jesus, Mary, and the Weed Donkey. Give me a break. Let's see. Min. This is gross. And I can't have her take an attack of opportunity. I don't really want to use Cookie as a shield here. The question here is, that would be 3 and 3 Min would be taking on an attack of opportunity because he's awake again. Unless I have Mark try to take out the Terror of the Stars first. He's got a Manifestation of Madness on him too, though. Yeah, I think that's the play here. So he's going to take a damage. Run it back. Rune is -3. For each point you fail by, discard the top card of your deck. Fortunately, we don't fail this time because we were up 4. Yep, we're up 4. Oh, Kindred Spirit's not gone, so we do 2 damage. Then I think we have Mark try to evade at even. Elder Sign is +1 damage, +1 for each damage on Mark. So he will evade the Terror of the Stars. Which is not great, but it's something. Min. Do we bite the bullet and take the attack of opportunity? We can take 1 and 1. We couldn't take 3 and 3, though. Unfortunately, Mark is also going to take 1 and 1, which is going to flip Sophie. And it's an action. It is an action to resign. Okay, actually, it's going to be an action for both of us to resign. So this doesn't have any penalty. You know what? F it. We're going to initiate an investigation. We'll take the attack of opportunity. Then we're going to commit everything in hand. Which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 matching lore icons on a lore test. Min is at a 10 to 3. She's up 7. And I'm probably going to go nuts if this gets me tentacle touched. +1. Okay. So we get the clue, and we can discard the king in yellow. And I think here is where we're going to resign. So here's where we're going to set up camp. So if each investigator is at the same location with no clues on it, resign. We set up camp, each investigator resigns. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here, which means I believe we go to no resolution was reached because each investigator resigned. We especially had the... Yep, no resolution reached. Okay. All right. Okay, so now we're going through the resolution because we resigned. Let me see if I can find my resolution on here. Here we go.
If no resolution was reached, each investigator was defeated. No amount of preparation could have made your journey through the ice and cold any easier. Your months of training before the expedition kicked in the moment you became stranded, and you were even able to scavenge some supplies while you searched for a safe place to rest for the night. But your thoughts keep returning to the sight of the thing that made your plane crash, the horrifying abominations that pursued you through the snowy wastes, and the sound, that awful sound, that cry. You almost wish you could have been robbed of your senses altogether so as to spare you from the cry that now haunts your every waking moment. As exhaustion settles in and you drift off to sleep, still that sound echoes in your thoughts, over and over again. Tekalili, Tekalili. Choose a location in play with no clues on it. In your campaign log, write camp hyphen, and next to it record that location's name. This location is referred to as the investigator's camp for the remainder of Ice and Death.
Before we continue with the resolution, I will say that the Snow Graves is going to be our camp for the remainder of Ice and Death. Continue.
Record the camp's shelter value in parentheses next to its name. Each investigator earns an experience equal to the camp's shelter value to a minimum of 3, plus the Victory X card of each value in the victory display. Proceed to checkpoint 1, the disappearance. Do not clean up the game yet.
And I've already marked off that was... Okay, so that was to the camp's shelter value, which we, again, are using Snow Graves. It had a shelter value of 5, so we get 5 experience. But we have the checkpoint, the disappearance 1. Let's see, where is that? Come on. I thought I recorded it. Let's see. Ice and Death Part 1. Oh, here we go. I did record it.
Checkpoint 1, the disappearance. The disappearance 1. Your sleep is anything but pleasant. The maddening cold bites at your flesh and the ever-howling wind plays tricks on your mind, conjuring images of misshapen, inky forms bursting out of the ground and rending your party whole. Just as you were finally beginning to leave such horrid thoughts behind, your rest is shattered by a startled cry. You awaken to find your camp in shambles and several of your companions missing. To your dismay, footsteps lead away from the relative safety of your camp and into the frozen wilds beyond. Find and gather the story assets corresponding to the surviving members of the expedition team. Shuffle them and randomly select a number of them equal to your camp's shelter value. Those characters are safe. If every surviving member of the expedition team is safe, proceed to the disappearance 2. The rest of the expedition team went missing in the night. In the expedition team section of the campaign log, write MIA next to the name of each character who went missing.
Before we continue to the next part, let's determine who's safe. So I brought Cookie and, who did Mark have out with him? I think Dyer. So I'm shuffling up the expedition team. Our shelter value is 5, so these 5 characters are safe. Rolled Ellsworth is safe. Elias safe. Professor William Dyer, that's who we had out. He's safe. Avery's safe. And Malacina's safe. Okay, so the rest of them went MIA in the night, which, uh-oh. So who went missing? Dr. Kensler, Cookie, and Danforth. Continue.
The investigators must decide, choose one. They're on their own. You will skip the next part of the scenario, proceed to the disappearance 2, go after the missing team members. You will play the next part of the scenario, skip to the disappearance 3 if you wish to do so immediately, or the disappearance 4 if you wish to take a break and proceed the next time you play.
So let's look at the team members who went missing in the night. Dr. Kensler is investigated with a base skill of 5. Fortunately, Minh seems to be pretty good at that. Cookie is how Min's able to fight for the most part. Danforth, now that we've got some Tekalili weaknesses, we might need him. So, what do I want to do about that? Decisions. Do we want to go after? Do we want to go after them? I think the answer. I'm trying to think when I want to work that into the schedule. I mean, I'm technically on break from 1985, but I could still potentially work it in. I could still work it into the content schedule. I kind of want to stick to my break, though. So I think... I was not completely I'm actually very happy with how Min's deck works. It very much draws through... It definitely draws through her deck very quickly. But you will get the King in Yellow, though, with this build. As for Mark... the question is, do I trust him to be able to go after these investigators, after these characters? I think the answer to that question is going to be... No, I don't think we're going to go after them. So that sends us to the Disappearance 2.
The Disappearance 2. You spend the next day resting and preparing for the next leg of your journey. Do not clean the game up yet. Skip Ice and Death Part 2 in its entirety. The missing team members surely could not have survived the night. In the Expedition Team section of the campaign log, cross off the name of each section who is marked as MIA, or of the character who is marked as MIA. Proceed immediately to Checkpoint 2, the attack.
Okay. So we skipped Ice and Death Part 2, which brings us to Checkpoint 2, the attack. Right. That's probably in my Ice and Death. Probably Ice and Death Part 2. There we go.
Checkpoint 2, the attack. The attack 1. You barely have time to rest before the sound of something erupting out of the ground nearby shakes you to your core. Massive tremors follow, sending cracks through the ice all around you. Then, that noise, that insipid piping, Tekalili, Tekalili. Whatever those creatures you encountered earlier were, you are sure they came from under the ice, breaking or seeping through to reach the surface. They must somehow live deep under the glacial crust of Antarctica. These quakes can only mean one thing. Your imagination stirs with visions of these monsters bursting forth all around you, creeping into your eyes and mouth, controlling you. It is clear you aren't safe here any longer. The investigators must decide. Choose one. Run for your lives. You will skip the next part of the scenario. Proceed to the attack 2. Stand and fight. You will play the next part of the scenario. Skip to the attack 3 if you wish to do so immediately, or the attack 4 if you wish to take a break and proceed the next time you play.
Alright, I think we're just going to take off and run for our lives. So that's going to send us to the attack 2.
The attack 2. You hastily grab what you can and flee the camp. You don't stop running until you put many miles between you and the pursuing creatures. By the time you're able to set up camp again, it is past midday, and your team is utterly exhausted. Your new camp is makeshift and haphazard, but it will have to do. Skip Ice and Death Part 3 in its entirety. In your campaign log, record, the team fled to the mountains. Clean up the game. You will not return to this scenario for the remainder of the campaign. Proceed to Interlude 1, Restful Night.
Okay. So let's find Interlude 1, which is probably down here. Nope. It is... Here we go. Interlude 1, Restful Night. Interlude 1, Restful Night. Restful Night 1.
Safe at last, you and the remaining members of the expedition take stock of your situation. You have lost several members of the team, but your numbers remain strong. Part of you knows that staying any longer would prove foolish or deadly, but a great many questions crowd your thoughts, demanding answers despite your worries. What were those uncanny, phantasmal creatures? What happened here after Dyer's expedition left the icy wastes behind? You and the others discuss the situation at length and consider various plans. Some believe in the total abandonment of the expedition, but to return empty-handed now would prove disastrous for the university, frustrate the scientific community, and possibly cost the remaining crew their careers. After all, very few believed Dyer's outlandish claims. Who would believe this? In the end, you decide to press onward. Another flight is out of the question, of course. That thing in the sky must still be out there. It was a miracle you survived one airplane crash, let alone two. No, there's only one way to reach the site described in Dyer's report now. You must travel on foot. The decision made, you retire to get what meager rest you can before the grueling trek ahead. You only have enough time to check on a few team members, regardless of whether they are alive or crossed out. One at a time, choose and read 3 of the sections below. 4 instead if the team fled to the mountains. If the game effect of the chosen section cannot be performed, it does not count toward this total, and you may choose a new section instead. Once you have read the appropriate number of sections, proceed to Restful Night 2.
Okay. So since we did flee to the mountains, we can check on 4 characters. We can check on 4 of our team members, which means Minh and Mark can each check on 2. So, who do we want to have Minh follow up with? I think Minh is going to go visit Cookie, Minh's going to go visit Cookie since he helped her out a little bit during the scenario and kept her alive. So, that's based on where we go with that. Alright, so Cookie's crossed out.
If James Cookie Fredericks is crossed out, as you set up camp, one of the other team members approaches holding a satchel of Cookie's old belongings. I figure you're the best person to take these, the young man says mournfully, handing it to you. You sit by the campfire and examine the items in the satchel one by one. Inside are several of Cookie's personal effects. A pocket watch with a cracked face, a matchbook emblazoned with the logo of the Excelsior Hotel, and of course his trusty .32 Colt revolver. It is exceptionally well maintained, its barrel polished clean and its wooden grip immaculate. Knowing Cookie, it had less to do with his love of the thing and more to do with old habits dying hard. You swing the cylinder out and note that only a few bullets remain. You rotate the cylinder idly and give Cookie a silent promise. Don't worry, I'll put these bullets to good use. Any one investigator may add the Cookie's Custom .32 story asset to their deck. This card can be found in the Memorials of the Lost Encounter set. It does not count toward that investigator's deck size.
That's what I was doing as I was getting the... What I was doing is that was playing as I was getting out the Memorials of the Lost Encounter set. So Cookie's Custom .32, fast, uses 2 ammo. As an action, spend an ammo to fight. Either fight with a base combat skill of 5 or get +2 combat for the attack. The attack deals +1 damage. I'm going to give that to Minh, so she's got a way to defend herself. And she checked in on Cookie anyway. Then I will have Minh check in with... we'll have Minh check in with Elia. Here we are.
If Elia Ashavak is alive, you find Elia on the outskirts of the camp, tending to the dogs and making sure they are ready for tomorrow's journey. His trusty companion, Anyu, is by his side as always. The dog's tail slaps back and forth rapidly as you approach. "Oh, hey there," Elia says over his shoulder when he realizes Anyu spotted you. "Calm down, will you, Anyu?" he scolds playfully, reaching down to ruffle her ears. You ponder aloud if she realizes the danger you're all in. "Oh, she knows," Elia responds. "She's rather good at making all the troubles of the world fade away. It wouldn't be the first time." You wonder with a bit of curiosity what other adventures Alaya and Anu might have been on in the past. But before you can ask, a cold flask hits you square in the chest and tumbles into your hands. Drink, Alaya offers. It'll warm you up. He sits down and drinks from a flask of his own, motioning for you to join him. You do, gulping down a large swallow. It burns on its way down. Anu lies between the two of you, nudging your hand pleadingly. No more words are spoken, but Alaya is right. For just a moment, things are okay. Everything is okay. Bonding with Alaya and Anu makes things just a little better. Any one investigator may either heal one mental trauma or erase one horror from a partner asset recorded in the campaign log.
Okay, so that was the two Minh checked in with. Mark is going to check in with... Who's Mark going to check in with? Mark's going to check in with Avery, I think. And Avery's alive.
If Avery Claypool is alive, Claypool is examining a map of the Ross ice shelf as you approach, tracing his fingers over topographical lines. We were supposed to have better weather conditions, he explains as you hunch over next to him. I don't know how or why, but something is messing with the weather patterns here. We're getting hit with storms too sudden even for Antarctica, and the temperature variance is closer to what we would find in winter. You ask Claypool if there's anything that can be done to prevent further hardship. The inclination might be to hunker down, he replies, and surely there are some among us who are too exhausted to go on. There are others who feel the opposite, that we should leave immediately and find safety elsewhere. I believe the best course of action is somewhere in between. He taps the map in front of him again, beckoning you closer. These storms are hitting fast and hard. We have to find our opening and move out the moment this one lets up, he explains. You nod in approval. Claypool's predictions help you stay safe from the inclement weather. Remove one frost token from the chaos bag. In addition, if Roald Ellsworth is still alive...
Let me check to see if Roald Ellsworth is still alive. He is still alive. So while that dialogue plays, I'm going to get the frost token out of the chaos bag.
Curious, you pry a bit, asking Claypool what the deal is between him and Ellsworth. Huh? Oh, Roald? That... He stammers, avoiding your gaze. He's just so damn stubborn and hard to read. You raise an eyebrow. Okay, it is more than that. He is a loner. By his very nature, getting close to somebody like that, he sighs, trying to muster up the words, is difficult. For both parties. But worth it, you observe aloud. Yes, I suppose it can be, he replies with a smile. Sometimes.
Okay, and the last character we're going to check in with, Mark's going to check in with Dr. Kensler. But unfortunately, Kensler is no longer among the land of the living, presumably.
If Dr. Amy Kensler is crossed out, you survey the research notes left behind by the leader of this doomed expedition. Surely, if anyone could make some sense out of what you've seen so far, it would be Dr. Kensler. Perhaps she knew more about these creatures than she let on. You scour her tent and filter through her belongings until you come across a thick journal filled with meticulous notes regarding the journey to Antarctica and the first couple days you spend unloading supplies and setting up camp. From there, the notes become less detailed and more jumbled. Her recounting of the days leading up to the plane crash is less a well-kept diary and more a delirious tangent. She wrote of walls dripping with black miasma, an endless void beneath the ice, something evil and alien that dwelled at the core beyond the gateway, and then nothing. Dr. Kensler had not been one to recount her dreams or author works of fiction. Something had rattled her. Something had made her see the things of which she wrote. But how? And when? You sit and continue her documentation with your own record of events, hoping grimly that if you don't make it off this continent alive, someone will read this and know what transpired here. Any one investigator may add the Kensler's Log's story asset to their deck. This card can be found in the Memorials of the Lost encounter set. It does not count toward that investigator's deck size.
Kensler's Log, 2 cost to play, lore, wildcard on commit. Fast, uses 2 secrets. Action, spend a secret to investigate, either with a base skill of 5 or +2 lore for the investigation. If you succeed, you discover 1 additional clue at your location. I'm going to give that to Mark, for the same reason I gave the 32 to Minh, just to help them out with skills they're bad at. All right, and that brings us, so now that we've read 4, that brings us to Restful Night 2. Where are you? Ah, here we are.
Restful Night 2. Silence falls over the camp as, one by one, the team falls into deep slumber. You try your damnedest to get some rest yourself, but every time you close your eyes, the image of those phantasmal creatures comes seeping behind your eyelids, and you shoot awake. You wonder morbidly if death is the only way you will ever rest on this journey. Check the expedition team of the section of the campaign log. If there are 3 or more names crossed out, proceed to Restful Night 3. Otherwise, skip to Scenario 2, to the Forbidden Peaks. Restful Night 3. You awaken with a start and immediately reach for a weapon to defend yourself. The sound that pierced through your dreams and shook you back into reality was not one any earthly creature could make, and yet, when you awaken, nothing is out of place. In fact, you rise to your feet, shocked, and examine your surroundings. Your makeshift camp was protected from the harsh elements, but still deep in the Antarctic wilderness, and yet, you find yourself indoors, in a hall you cannot place despite a strange familiarity. You brush aside some of the snow that still lingers on the ground around your sleeping bag, noting a tiled floor that wasn't there before. A dream? As you doubt the truth of this mysterious place, the walls and the tiled floor shimmer and fade. You are left back in the freezing cold of your camp, surrounded by your companions, except for the door leading out of that hall still remains. Thick gray mist swirls around you, guiding you onward. This is no natural refraction of light. Something supernatural is at work here. The thick miasma that churns around your camp is not unlike the substance that makes up the nightmarish creatures you encountered after your plane crashed. Do you really want to know what it wants you to see? The investigators must decide. Choose one. Open the door and venture into the mirage. Proceed to Scenario ? Fatal Mirage. Ignore the door and allow it to vanish. Proceed to Scenario 2, to the Forbidden Peaks. You will get this chance again later.
For now, we're going to let the door vanish, and next week we will be headed to the Forbidden Peaks for the second scenario. That'll do it for this playthrough of the first scenario of the spring campaign. As I mentioned, next week we will be going for the second scenario to the Forbidden Peaks. Don't forget, if you want to influence the next sports project coming up on the channel, the poll for summer 2025 is now live on the channel, so make sure you vote on that. The 1985 season recap and reveal show will be on Sunday, April 20th, where, just like it sounds, we'll go through the 1985 season and we'll reveal what the next project is going to be. Remember, the more votes a project gets, the more dice it'll roll during the selection show. Wednesday, we're going to be doing a playthrough of Stratomatic Hockey with a full ticker tape test. And Saturday, Mystical Munchies will continue out of the Can You Take the Heat cookbook with the side, JR's Country Cornbread. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone.